G'day Sunshine Coast, Matt Druce here from Sunshine Coast Unmuzzled. So today we're here and we're just about to interview Dylan. If you haven't seen it already across social media, Dylan's set up here on Monday with the sign that you see behind us here to essentially create awareness about father's rights, but most specifically because he, as the sign says, wants to see his son. We're going to go and sit down in a second and interview Dylan. We think it's really important that the core of his message is shared out there. There's been some great awareness about him and his plight to see his son, but it's actually a little bit bigger than that. And we're going to go over, introduce you to him, and give you a little bit more depth behind the story. Dylan, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Thank you for meeting with us. Look, as we said in the intro, we really wanted to meet with you and give the public an opportunity to actually hear the true intent of what you're here to do. Most people will know it's gone wildfire. People are getting in right behind you. But the one thing we noticed in the digital realm is that people are still stuck in this adversarial psyche and focusing on the systems that are built around that. So we just think it's so important that people hear from you the intent of what you're doing here in the way that you're talking to individuals and touching people's lives.
Thank you. The reason I'm here is a very simple one.
Yep.
I'm here because I want to see my son.
Yep.
That's all. That's simple. And that I was at a point where I guess I was stuck with an option, and these things happen. We know that they happen, and the details, there's lots of details out there about me, but I'm simply a man that's a father that wants to see his son. Now, from this, an amazing thing has occurred. This message, so what it is, I went, okay, we've been through mediation, that got cancelled, okay, we can go to court. What struck me was the fact that in that sentence was, you have to go to court to fight for your children.
And fight being the operative word.
Fight being the operative word. And I thought to myself, why do we not go to court to reconcile for our children? Why do we not go to court to discuss and find a better way to communicate for our children? We're told to fight, and that's what we do. We go to court and we fight. And who loses? At the end of the day, who really loses? And that's what is at the core of the issue. So here I am, right, this guy, and I've got my son, and I love him so much, and I'm racking my brain. I'm going, how can I'm going to go in the system, and I know it's going to be, the outcome is not necessarily going to be what I would consider fair or applicable to the situation. So I thought, and I went, what's the most basic human right? Is to see your child as a parent. And this is about parents seeing their child. And I am just one parent that wants to see his child. Mm. And from then I went, I'm going to just make it simple. We're caught up in this complex world where everything is happening so fast, and we do this and we litigate and we go to court and we accuse and we argue. And I went, it can be so simple. Mm. I can just take a picture of him and the words, I want to see my son, and sit down. Cross my legs and sit down and be calm and be serene and be submissive. Yeah. Because I want to show that I don't want to fight. I don't want to take something away. Yeah. I don't want to blame. All I want to do is see my son.
And so from the outside looking in, and we've talked quite a bit before doing the interview, but this is one thing that I hadn't really narrowed in on. This is obviously twofold. One is to show your ex, and I must commend you, mate. I saw the recent interview, and not naming your ex and not turning this back into a combatant situation is commendable. I've got a lot of
that's-
respect for you for that. I know you've got a lot of great feedback for that too.
And that's part of the core of this issue, and I want to protect her. I don't want people knowing where she is or her name or anything like that.
Yeah.
I do want to protect her, and that's the core of the issue. I'm not vindictive, I'm not spiteful, and I don't want to do that. So that, to me, I want to show that we can have honour. I want to show that let's do this a better way.
Yeah.
Let's be bigger than this. And I see thousands of men going into this system, sacrificing so much just for the right to give, not for the right to take. And there is this mindset and this narrative in place that men are, for some reason, taking something, that we have to be stopped because we're taking something, but we're not.
Yeah.
And I guess I just wanted to show that I want my right to give.
And I suppose, so coming back to what I was saying, and the narrative is key to your approach here. But coming back to the first thing, this is twofold. Well, I would imagine that the first and foremost is to implore your ex to see your genuine, sincere, calm, and deep intent to need to see your son.
Absolutely.
And that this process will have her see that you don't want to enter an adversarial system, that this is just about having a meaningful, quality relationship with your boy.
Absolutely.
And then the other side of this is then inspiring this mindset, this public societal narrative, to take a look and I suppose accept that there's another way. And it starts with us. And that's what I got from you talking to you.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to do this interview is I think people need to really hear that underlying message about why didn't you, I mean, people are saying, why haven't you gone to court? 7 News said he hasn't gone to the police and he hasn't gone to court. Can you explain to people watching this why you haven't done that? Because I think your reasoning is beautiful.
People tell me I have to go to court.
Yep.
People tell me I have to go to the police. But do I? Why should I? Why should I be told to fight when I do not want to fight? Why should I be told to go into this system and sacrifice and crush my soul and my spirit and fight? And I ask why, because there's got to be a better way. And what I say is that we know that it's not working. We know that something is wrong. We know that something has to change. And I am offering people a different path. I'm saying, let's look at this differently. Let's change that. Let's look at the fact that it says we go to court to fight. Yes, as a last resort, it's there and it should be there to protect all parents and all children, to protect in a last resort.
Yeah.
Not as a first resort to fight.
Yeah.
And I guess this has grown into something much bigger and something so much more than this. And I hear the stories of those guys and I see the pain and the suffering that they have been through as parents in this system. And you ask that question, you have to. Do you have to? Shouldn't there be a better way? Shouldn't we have this better, as parents and as human beings, let's be better.
Yeah.
Let's find a way of saying, should we accept this?
Because it starts with us.
It does. It starts with everybody, and it starts with one person that can stand up and say, no, I do not want to go down that path.
Yeah.
No, I will not yield.
Yeah.
And no, I will do something better for my son. And I want to show people there is a better way.
Yeah.
And I want to inspire people because the reason for doing this is critical. They are the most important thing of our future, is our children and how we go about it. And the more we fight, the more they lose and the more we take away from them.
Yeah.
And I want to sit here today as somebody that's calm. I'm not angry, I'm calm. I'm not attacking anybody. I'm not a demon. I'm not something to be feared. I just stand for my right to give.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's turned into this has reached so far across this country, and this message, and I feel that a lot of parents don't know how to say this, and a lot of parents don't see another way, and maybe this will take time.
Yeah.
And
this was.
But if we can inspire that change, and we can just say, look, there is a man that just loves his son. He doesn't present anything dangerous to anybody, anywhere, at all. I'm not a threat to anything. Why am I being treated as a threat?
Yeah.
And that support that has come out for that idea and that notion is incredible.
Yes.
And men and women and parents everywhere are coming to me and sitting down and talking and sharing their stories and saying, we need to change. And I agree. I say, yes, let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's be bigger people and better. Let's do this better. Let's show our future generation of children that we did it better, instead of going through this process we have done time and time again.
Yeah.
And let's find a way.
And I think, look, this is one of the most beautiful things that I've gotten from Dylan's message is I've been through the custody system. And as he so correctly pointed out, once you go down that adversarial path, it becomes a combatant situation, right?
Yeah.
And then that leads on to the rest of the combatant social issues that we have, where men and women are divided, whereas really we're all members of society.
We are.
We're all constructive, valuable members of society. And while one sex may have something to offer more and over and above the other sex, ultimately, together, we make up the fabric of this world. And as parents, we make up the fabric of our kids' future. One of the things I mentioned to you before, and after meeting with you yesterday and seeing the amazing support down here from Blokes Advice yesterday, and a big shout out to them. I think they've been amazing in getting your word
incredible.
out.
They've been so good. Those guys are just awesome, and they have backed me all the way, and just to see that support and that help has been amazing. It really has. And it's inspiring, and that is coming from everywhere in the community.
Yeah.
And I know that this is reaching out and touching people everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time, we see somebody that doesn't want to fight or shout, but that message is so clear. And for the first time, we see a different way.
It's refreshing in this realm.
It is.
Because it is an emotional, frustrating... I mean, you enter that system and it is emotionally, financially, mentally draining.
It is.
As soon as you go into combat mode. Because lines are drawn. And once lines are drawn, people stop thinking about what's best for kids and start worrying about how they're going to win. And that is inherently the biggest problem.
And what I want to show is that why are we going there? We, as expectations...
Now you're hitting the nail on the head.
As society's expectations.
Yeah.
Why should we make this acceptable?
Yeah.
Why are we accepting this? Why are we saying it's okay to drag your children through court? Why are we saying it's okay for one parent to hold the children away from another when they just want to share?
Yeah.
Why is that okay? Why is that socially accepted? And I just want to reach out and say, let's look at that mindset.
Yes.
Let's look at that process, and let's look at that acceptance, and let's think about if we change that, everything else will follow. And everything stems from that.
Yeah.
And that's the shift I'm trying to create here, is that, yeah, let's change that mindset. And it might not happen in a day. It might not happen in 2 days. It might not happen in 3. But I know today Australia is a little bit different than what it was yesterday.
Absolutely.
And this change has rippled across all aspects of our community, our society, and our country. Because the message is clear. We know it's not working. We know something has to change, and we know why we have to change it. We just didn't know how.
Yeah.
And I want to stand up with a way, something different to how we can change it.
And I really want to reiterate, when you say change, right, and this is the one thing that I've noticed online when this message has been shared and people have shared shared Dylan's, content online, is that this is not, and correct me if I'm wrong, mate, but from our conversations, this is not so much for Dylan about changing the system. And I think, as you said before, the system is needed because there will be times where people cannot find a way to put the kids' best interests first, separate of drugs and domestic violence and something to keep the kids safe. But this combatant mentality, this it's okay to cut a father out of a life, or a mother for that,
A parent,
full stop. And it's not okay. And so for you, it's not about, because we've noticed that, this is a topic that will tend to get politicised. And we saw it after the Channel 7 interview. We have representatives coming out and saying, we're changing, we're looking at changing the system. That's good, because I think a system created in 72 or 74, it obviously needs reform to bring it up to speed. But what Dylan's doing here is not trying to enact that, because there is a plethora of people trying to enact change in the system. I think the most important message that I got from Dylan sitting here and talking with him is changing our mindsets. Because you go into that system, as I was saying to you before, you go into this system, and when you're combatant, one person wins and one person loses.
Yes.
But when there's kids involved, what you actually have is, if there's no good reason to take a child out of a parent's life, then when one person wins, two people lose. And if there's 2 kids or 3 kids, when one person wins, then 2, 3, 4 people lose. So, I mean, mate, I have to commend you on what you're doing. I think it's a novel approach. It's something that's needed. You've said before, it's commendable to see these people in front of the family law court and trying to enact this change within the system. But ultimately, we should step outside the system and find the sensibility to do what's right for our kids without having to go there.
We have a responsibility as parents to be better.
Yes.
We have a responsibility as parents to say what and what is not acceptable.
Yes.
As a society, we have a responsibility. And this is the time when we say, let's look at that acceptability. What is acceptable? And I'm saying, I want to take away the need, in most cases, to go to that system in the first place. I want to take away the causation, not the effect.
Yeah.
The system is an effect of the mindset. It is a result, not a beginning. And I'm saying, let's change it before it starts. Let's fix this issue before it begins. And we can save so much time and effort by doing that.
Yeah.
If we don't have to walk down that path, and we don't have to fight, and we can step away from that because we have different expectations of what is acceptable, that is what I want to see.
Everyone wins.
Everyone wins. And we just want the right to give. And I think this has never been approached like this before. And I think what we've been doing for so long is we've been trying to fight the system. And I don't want to fight, and I don't want to fight the system. It has a reason, it has a place. But what I want to do is I want to show a different way, a different acceptance and a different mindset and a different narrative of saying, let's reconcile and not fight.
Yeah,
let's not go there to fight. Let's go
there for the best interests of the kids.
And the single most important thing to us right now is our children. And the power of that social expectation and acceptance is enormous.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say, as parents, let's do better. Let's put down that fight. Let's all be better, because we can. We know we can, and we've done it before. And
we can do it again.
We can do it again. And when men are motivated, they can move mountains. And I stand in front of that monumentous task. It is a mountain to shift. And people say to me, you can't change it. And I say, one day they said we could not reach the moon, and we did, because men were motivated. When we are motivated, we can move mountains, and we have a mountain to move. And when men are motivated, we can show more love and care and compassion than is ever possible to believe.
Yeah.
And together, and also what I'm seeing, which is really, really incredible, is I'm seeing men and women joining back together again. I'm seeing that wall that was put between them dissolve.
Yes.
I'm seeing communities being strong and forming. And I'm seeing that differences that we're forced into to be individuals fighting each other, I'm seeing that drop in favour of something bigger and better.
I think people are tired of fighting, mate. It doesn't matter whether it's custody or whatnot. Most of our systems tend to be adversarial.
They do.
And look, I just want to kind of leave it at this. When I first rang Dylan on the phone, and a friend of mine came down and met you, and you really touched him, as you have so many people that have come down and spoken to you. It reminded me, hearing him talk about what you're doing, of a book by Dan Millman, and it's called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior.
Yeah.
And the quote from that is what I said to you on the phone when we first spoke. The secret of change is not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And that's what you're doing here. I think it's commendable. I'll speak for you now. Dylan has said many times to everyone that I've seen him talk to, come down, tell your friends, tell your family. This is about starting a dialogue. This is about connecting from heart and mind to heart and mind about what is best for our kids, changing this social outlook, and really changing the paradigm that we're stuck in now.
Absolutely.
Dylan, thank you for meeting with us. We will come back and meet you again, mate. I'd love to continue this dialogue online. Perhaps we could even do a couple of live feeds, and people that aren't here on the coast could perhaps, talk to you, send in their questions, and you could, answer any questions they have.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to do that. And
Awesome.
before we go, I see something now that I have not seen in so long.
Yeah.
I see hope in men's eyes,
Yes.
and that will move mountains. Let's do this.
Mate, thanks for meeting with us. Cheers.